There are 7.125 billion people in the world, like little molecules. How does one pop up that stands out and accomplishes something, changes the world? The standing out part is apparently in the world you can stand out. You can say outrageous things and be irresponsible on television, apparently. But to accomplish things is hard, and Luther has done it, as you know. I was trying to think why. I'm a professor, so don't know me. Kind of why. And I'm thinking about this, and I thought back to mid-2000s. I was teaching a class at the University of Arizona, and I invited a guest lecturer to come in and talk about leadership and community development and public policy and so forth. And I remember the lessons. It was a lesson about how do you make a difference, and how do you really make a difference for the better of people's lives. And the lessons, I remember the lessons very clearly. I mean, I learned more than the students, I think. It was, you had to have vision married to realism, and you had to have wisdom married to passion. You had to have energy to get it done. The lecturer that day in my class was Luther Propst. More than almost 24 years ago, the young lawyer from North Carolina founded, with others, the Sonoran Institute. Young. This guy, they're still, think of the hard work, travel, and late nights and anything else. He doesn't have a single gray hair. Little known secret, the endowment of the Sonoran Institute is biclaral for men. And what is with the peanut M&Ms? You know, this guy, if there's a biological experiment, can an adult male live on peanut M&Ms? Right, John? They're on it, and by the way, there's a tradition that goes on at our board meeting today. Every seat has the bowl of peanut M&Ms. And he tried to break in and steal them. Okay. But he keeps himself in good shape. It's truth. I just confirmed it. I'm driving down Broadway, coming in here today, and here's this big, tall, dark-haired guy running. It's Luther. He showered. Where did this accomplishment come from? I've always thought that the Sonoran Institute is a relatively small organization. We're not the Sierra Club with a gazillion members. We're not a big corporation and so forth. It came from ideas. We had to be the group that dropped the ideas that changed the game into the game. We had to drop those ideas in. And Luther founded the Sonoran Institute with an idea, I think. And it was this idea that the beauty of the American West, the land, the rivers, the wildlife, the scenery, the air, didn't have to be in conflict with economic development. That in fact, the deep insight was, it was the engine of economic development. That the beauty of the West was why most of us, or our families, or our ancestors, are here, came here, was because of the beauty. And Luther harnessed that as this idea that economic development was actually supported by the protection of the things we value about the American West. And that insight is what has really been at the core, I think, of the Sonoran Institute for almost 24 years now. He also had a dream, not just an insight, in an increasingly dysfunctional society. Look around our politics. That you might be able to make progress in bettering people's lives with civil, collaborative, community engagement on these issues of how to protect what you think is really nice about a place and keep it a place where people can and want to live. And that was, I think, the dream that Luther had. And he also had the leadership to make it work. And out of that was born the Sonoran Institute. Sonoran Institute's accomplishments are phenomenal. By my count, if you count the state trust land reform, et cetera, somewhere between maybe 1.5 million and 2.5 million acres of public lands have been protected as a result of Luther and the teams that he built. That's directly, indirectly, from science and the national parks to all kinds of programs, training county commissioners up and down the Rockies, Land has been protected, not to keep it as something away from the people, to make it help the people. And so there are some pretty good accomplishments, probably raised on the order of $300 million for this dream over the last 24 years. Not bad work for a small town lawyer from North Carolina. But more than anything, I stress it's the ideas. It's the ideas that he's dropped into the game and changed the way people look at these fights that we all get into all the time. He's got that wisdom. You hear it in the phrases. This guy has this uncanny ability to capture something. On our masthead right now, the shaping of the American West, the future of the West. Or the oft quoted, he stole it, never gives credit, he always gives credit. Wallace Stegner's A Civilization to Match My Scenery. This ability to sort of challenge us with those kinds of things, but also kind of give it that positive, like, this is important stuff. This guy can develop ideas. Sometimes his wisdom, the phrases, when you're in meetings with him, things like, in that slightly North Carolina drawl, even a blind pig finds an acorn sometimes. I think that was a reference to good fundraising, right? or here's one, I still don't know what it means. Wisdom of Luther. He's a one-eyed dog in a butcher shop. Still don't know that one. Thought you were hard. No, I still don't know what that is. But Luther obviously put together accomplishments, teams of people that are here tonight to honor you, that they themselves are doing fantastic things. John, Emily, Don, Catherine's here, all kinds of people, and I don't want to miss anyone. But I think you would all agree with me that if it wasn't for this guy, like the Delta, the Colorado Delta, where it flows into the Sea of Cortez, literally died of thirst. And now there are 100,000 new trees growing there. Kind of and others. But I think we'd all agree that without Luther and the Sonoran Institute, it probably wouldn't have happened. Or some other accomplishments, little things. Red Lodge, Montana, and Sonora, Arizona figured out how to keep the engine of their physical beauty, which drove their economies, protected so they can continue to drive their economies. The rather straightforward inputs of ideas and workable solutions from the Sonoran Institute. And I think without Luther, it probably wouldn't happen. As I mentioned, millions of acres of public lands protected. Probably wouldn't have happened without Luther. One of my favorites, with the only bill in the Clinton administration to pass both houses of Congress with no dissenting votes, led by Luther and a cadre of others. He keeps pointing to others, that's Luther. But without Luther, I don't know if it would have happened. The creation of the Los Ciénegas National Conservation Area. So, wow. We're here to honor Luther. I think we're all honored to be here with him.